Welcome to the People Teaching People podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you'll know at the end of every guest episode, I ask each guest the same question. Do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom that could empower or support people in their own teaching and learning journeys? Now, here's what's fascinating. I've now asked this question 52 times. And do you know what the most common answer is? It is be curious. So today I want to spend some time with that idea. We're going to explore the heart of curiosity, what it is, why it matters, and how we can nurture it in our day-to-day lives. We'll talk about the difference between awe, wonder, and curiosity, and I'll share a few little stories that bring each one to life. And along the way, I'll be asking you some reflection questions. So if you're on a walk, in the car, or washing dishes, I encourage you to be curious about being curious with me. And before we get started, I wanted to let you know that I've created a free guide for you featuring some curiosity quotes to inspire you, along with the reflection questions I'll be asking throughout this episode. And you can find the link to this in the show notes. Let's start with the basics. What is curiosity? Curiosity is that inner spark that drives us to learn, explore, and connect. It's that tug of, I wonder, and the willingness to follow it. Curiosity isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the questions. It's a mindset more than a moment. And here's something fascinating. Curiosity actually fuels learning at the neurological level. When we're curious about something, our brains release dopamine, that feel-good chemical that's tied to motivation and pleasure. And this not only makes learning more enjoyable, but it also enhances memory. Studies have shown that curiosity activates the hippocampus, the part of the brain involved in forming new memories, and strengthens neural connections. So, when we follow our curiosity, we're not just engaging our minds, we're literally rewiring our brains to retain and integrate new information. Curiosity creates the ideal conditions for deep and lasting learning. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Curiosity doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's heart-centered and closely connected to other powerful emotions that shape how we experience the world. In her book, Atlas of the Heart, Brené Brown beautifully explores the difference between awe, wonder, and curiosity. Awe is the feeling we get when we're in the presence of something vast that challenges our understanding of the world, like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon. Wonder is when we're open to experiencing the world with fresh eyes, when something captures our attention and fills us with delight. Curiosity is the recognition of a gap in our knowledge and the desire to fill that gap. So let me share a little personal story for each one of these, starting with awe. About 20 years ago, my husband and I went on a trip to Peru. This was definitely one of those experiences that sticks with you forever. We had hiked and camped along the Inca Trail for a few days, and it was incredible. Winding through cloud forests, ancient stone steps, these massive mountain passes. It felt like walking through history. On the last day, we woke up super early, like before the sun was even thinking about rising. Our group wanted to make it to the sun gate in time to see the sunrise over Machu Picchu, a historic Inca city in Peru. And we did. We arrived just as the light started to spill over the peaks, and there it was. This breathtaking view of the ruins, all lit up in that soft, golden morning glow. We didn't even say anything. We just stood there, taking it all in, that feeling of being so small in the presence of something so vast and beautiful. That was awe. I remember thinking, I'll never forget this. Wonder, on the other hand, is often found in the little things, the moments that capture our attention in a more playful, curious way. When our kids were little, going for a walk around the block was never just a walk around the block. What would normally take me on my own, 5 to 10 minutes, could easily turn into an hour because they noticed everything. Every puddle had to be splashed in, every stick had to be picked up and examined like it was a rare treasure. There were bugs to watch, rocks to collect, flowers to smell. Even cracks in the sidewalk were exciting. I remember walking beside them, just watching and thinking, wow, they're seeing the world in a way I don't even notice anymore. That's wonder. It's that wide-eyed openness, that sense of delight in the tiniest things. And honestly, being with my kiddos helped me slow down and see the magic in the everyday too. And that sense of wonder often sparks curiosity. Take, for example, the blown glass heart paperweight on my desk. It was a gift from my husband, something I've always loved, but for the longest time, I didn't know or really even think about who made it. Then one day we were walking through Rubaiyat, a shop on 17th Avenue in Calgary, and I spotted a display of these stunning blown glass pieces. That's when I noticed the artist's name, Robert Held. It stopped me in my tracks. His works look so much like the heart on my desk, and the vases in the shop reminded me of one that I had in our bedroom, a gift from family friends during a particularly tough time. And when I got home, I did a little digging, and sure enough, both pieces were made by Robert Held. I'd had them for years and never realized they were connected. And that moment of discovery sparked something. I got curious. I started learning more about Robert Held, about how he fell in love with glass blowing, how he became a pioneer of art glass in Canada, and I realized this wasn't just about an artist. It was about noticing connections that had been right in front of me all along. That's the power of curiosity. It helps us see things more deeply. It strengthens our ability to connect, to make meaning, to learn not just facts, but stories. And sometimes it reveals that there's even more meaning woven into the things we already hold dear. When was the last time you felt awe? When was the last time you experienced wonder? And what's something that sparked your curiosity lately? Curiosity fuels growth. It helps us connect with others, challenge our assumptions, and expand what we think is possible. Organizational psychologist Adam Grant puts it this way: a mark of lifelong learners is recognizing that they can learn something from everyone they meet. And I love that. And that's probably why you've heard me bring this quote up on more than a few occasions. Because when we approach conversations and experiences with curiosity, we open ourselves up to insights we might have missed otherwise. Curiosity leads to empathy, innovation, and better questions. This idea really connects with Pearson College on Vancouver Island, the school where I spent 2 years studying, so grade 12 and first year university, along 200 students from 87 different countries. Pearson College is part of the United World Colleges, or UWC movement, and their mission is to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. Pearson College is actually named after Lester B. Pearson, who is Canada's 14th Prime Minister and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. He famously said, "How can there be peace without people understanding each other? And how can this be if they don't know each other?" This quote has always stuck with me. Curiosity is the foundation of understanding. Without curiosity, we wouldn't seek to understand people's different experiences and backgrounds and perspectives. It's that curiosity that helps us break down walls and find common ground. Hosting this podcast for over 5 years has been huge fuel for my own curiosity. It's been such an incredible opportunity to connect with, learn from, and share insights with so many amazing people. And I hope that in turn, you felt some of that curiosity ignite in your own life. To me, that's one of the most powerful things we can do, to be a part of someone else's curiosity journey. But here's the thing: curiosity doesn't always come easily. There are barriers. Sometimes we think we already know enough. Sometimes we're afraid of looking silly for asking questions, and sometimes we're just too busy to slow down and wonder. In fact, one of the biggest barriers I've noticed is the urge to be critical before being curious. Have you ever caught yourself rejecting something new or unfamiliar or treating it with skepticism or judgment before you've even asked a question about it? It's so easy to take a critical approach, to default to that's not right or that doesn't make sense. But what if instead we started with a question? What if we decided to approach things with curiosity first before rushing to conclusions? One of the best ways to do this is to plan some questions in advance. Think about it. How often do we dive into a conversation or situation and forget to ask questions? If we're intentional about it, asking questions can help us stay open, and we can learn so much more that way. Another barrier is misinformation and disinformation. Just because we read it or someone says it doesn't mean it's true. We've all seen it, something that sounds convincing but is based on half-truths or outright lies. This becomes even trickier with social media. Algorithms feed us more of what we've liked or clicked on, which means we're seeing the same viewpoints over and over and less of different narratives. It's like we go down a rabbit hole, and before we know it, we're looking at the world through a very narrow lens. It's so much easier and more comfortable to surround ourselves with people and ideas that already match our own worldview. But what happens when we only engage with those who see things the same way? We build walls, not bridges. The opposite, being exposed to other points of view, can feel uncomfortable. But that's where the growth happens. We have to push through that discomfort and build bridges instead of barriers. The willingness to explore different perspectives, to ask questions, and to be curious, even when it's hard, is what helps us create understanding and connection. And a little kindness goes a long way here too. Sometimes we don't need to have all the answers, but simply offer a space for someone else's point of view. This is how we find that messy middle, the space where we can explore different ideas, find common ground, and ideally create win-win situations. When was the last time you chose curiosity over criticism, and what happened because of it? One of the most powerful shifts we can make, especially as educators, leaders, parents, and humans, is to go into experiences with a learner mindset. That means asking more questions than we answer. It means showing up with what can I learn here instead of what do I already know? The experts I admire most are the ones who say, I don't know, with confidence and curiosity. They're always learning, always growing, because being an expert doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you know there's still more to explore. I believe that true experts are always looking for ways to keep learning, evolving, and expanding their knowledge. A big part of this mindset is being intentional about who we connect with, listen to, and learn from. It's about exploring the people, perspectives, and ideas that can offer new insights that expand our perspectives and broaden our understanding of the world. Who in your circle or beyond can challenge your thinking, offer a fresh viewpoint, or help you see things from a different angle? Curiosity isn't just about finding answers. It's about intentionally seeking out those who can help you see the world in a more expansive way. Another crucial part of this is the art of listening. Too often, we're so focused on speaking and offering our own thoughts that we miss out on the chance to truly listen and learn from others. Notice how much time you spend talking versus listening. When we take the time to listen first, we open ourselves up to new ideas and deeper understanding. And here's the thing. Every time we're not curious, we miss an opportunity to learn. Curiosity leads to connection, growth, and innovation. When we aren't curious, we close ourselves off from those opportunities. It's like walking past a treasure chest without even stopping to open it. What's something you think you know a lot about, but might benefit from being curious about it again? Let's bring this down to the everyday. How can we practice curiosity in small, simple ways? Curiosity doesn't always have to be about these big, profound questions. It can start with the little things we do every day. For example, when you're in line at the grocery store, strike up a conversation with the person beside you. Ask them what they're making for dinner. Simple, right? But that question might lead to a fascinating discussion, or at the very least, a shared moment of connection and maybe even a new recipe idea. On a plane, ask the person next to you about their travel plans. You'd be surprised at how many interesting conversations can start just from showing interest in someone else's life. See someone reading a book? Ask them what they think of it. It's a great way to open up a conversation and get recommendations for your next read. Here's a fun one. Play a game of Would You Rather at the dinner table with your family. Now, if you've never played before, it's a simple game where you ask each other questions like, would you rather always have to sing when you talk or dance everywhere you go? Or would you rather be able to talk to animals or speak all human languages fluently? It's a fun, lighthearted way to get people thinking and talking about all sorts of topics. This game has been a fantastic way to spark insightful and often hilarious conversations around our dinner table with my husband and 3 teenage boys. It is way better than the usual, how was your day type of question, don't you think? Just showing interest in someone else's world opens up connections, and curiosity at its core is a way of acknowledging and valuing the unique experiences and perspectives others bring. It says, you matter. Your experience matters. When we ask questions, we're telling people their stories and ideas are worth listening to. I've got a great example of how curiosity can build connections. I'll tell you about how I met Julianne Gallant, the resident conductor with the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra. If you haven't heard her episode on the podcast yet, it's an awesome one. So here's the story. My husband and I were on a flight from Calgary to Toronto on our way to Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. He was attending a conference, and I was simply along for the ride. During the flight, I struck up a conversation with the person sitting beside me, Julianne. As we started chatting, we realized we had a lot in common. She shared that she had been guest conducting with the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra and was looking to apply to become their resident conductor. Fast forward a few months, and there she was, stepping into her new role as the resident conductor. Since then, I've had the immense privilege of seeing her conduct in performances with country music star Brett Kissel and more recently with Canadian singer-songwriter Chantal Kreviazuk. From a random conversation on an airplane, we're now friends. And let me tell you, she is an incredibly inspiring and amazing human. This is a perfect example of how curiosity, just a simple conversation between strangers, can lead to real, meaningful connections. Now, there is something to be said about childlike curiosity. Earlier, I shared the story of how walks with our kiddos when they were little would take so long because they would notice everything. The puddles, the sticks, the cracks in the sidewalk. That sense of wonder sparks curiosity, the drive to understand and learn more. Kids experiment, explore, get messy, and don't worry about being wrong. And as we get older, that curiosity can start to fade. Sometimes we get even more focused on having the right answers, completing tasks, and simply moving on to the next thing. We may begin to feel like there's less space for wondering or asking why. We may even start to see questions as something that puts us behind or makes us look like we don't know enough. But here's the exciting part. Curiosity is something we can always nurture, no matter where we are in life. Just like those long walks with our kids where every little thing is worthy of wonder, we can give ourselves permission to pause, observe, and ask questions about the world around us. And by doing so, we open ourselves up to new insights, experiences, and deeper connections. So let's challenge ourselves to think like we did when we were kids. What would my younger self want to know about at this moment? Asking that simple question can lead us to a world of exploration, new learning, and a more curious mindset. How can you invite more play, wonder, and questions into your everyday life? I want to leave you with a challenge. Be curious. Before you judge, ask. Before you assume, wonder. Before you answer, listen. Because the more curious we are, the more connected we become to ourselves, to each other, and to the world around us. And remember, everyone you meet knows something you don't. What a beautiful opportunity that is. Thank you so much for joining me today on the People Teaching People podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to send me an email or reach out on social media. And if you think someone else could benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Don't forget to download the free guide I created for you. It includes some inspiring curiosity quotes and the reflection questions I asked throughout the episode. You'll find the link, as I had mentioned before, in the show notes. Thank you for listening. Let's keep learning together, and I encourage you to be curious, keep asking questions, and keep exploring what matters.